line. Philippe Turle joins me now from our international affairs desk. Philippe, it's been a bit of a mixed week for Zelensky so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been good and bad. We've had the good points this week, which is the announcement of sanctions and the fact that this meeting is taking place, the coalition of the willing in London today. It looks like there could be movement on supplying more weapons to Ukraine. There have been some not quite good things this week, and that is the fact that these Russian assets have not been handed over yet to Ukraine, 210 billion in euros in total. What Ukraine wants is what they call a reparation loan of 140 billion euros to be able to fund their missiles and war effort over the next year or so. That hasn't been given the green light, principally due to the Belgians blocking it because they're scared that if they do hand over this money, most of which is blocked in a Belgian bank called Euroclear, that they won't get the money back after the war is over because they don't believe that Russia will pay reparations. That's if Vladimir Putin refuses to do so. There will maybe be some movement on that, but we'll have to wait until December. It's been kicked into the long grass, and I think that's a disappointment for the Ukrainians. But I think that certainly the announcement of sanctions this week has come as a welcome boost for Volodymyr Zelensky, because he sees that as being the fact that there could be more pressure, particularly on these two oil producers, Lukoil and Rosneft. Rosneft is a state-run oil company. Lukoil is a private company. They produce 3.1 million barrels a day. That is going to be seriously affected by these sanctions, which have been announced by the United States.
Yeah, and if we move to today then, this Coalition of the Willing Summit, can we expect there to be announcements, things for Ukraine today?
I think that there will be announcements, certainly about sending missiles. What Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, wants is to send certainly some more missiles to Ukraine. These are missiles that are produced in the United Kingdom, and they could be quite useful for the Ukrainians on the ground. Now, the thing about the Coalition of the Willing, Peter, is that it's really been drawn up to come into effect once there is a ceasefire deal, once there is a peace agreement in the long run in Ukraine. There are about 30 to 40 countries involved. About 24 countries are going to be in London today to take part in these talks. But the problem is that they're a bit in a corner because they can't come into action because there's no possibility of a peace deal, and every time there is the prospect that maybe something is going in that direction, it comes to a halt. And I think there is relief that the discussions taking place, or the proposed discussions between the United States and also President Putin, which were going to take place in Budapest under the auspices of the Hungarian Prime Minister, have been shelved. That's also good news for Volodymyr Zelensky. That has put back any possibility that there could be negotiations or prospect towards a peace deal. So while they're waiting to see how this is all going to fathom out in the long run, I think there will be calls for them to propose these Storm Shadow missiles from the United Kingdom, and also Taurus missiles from Germany. Once again, a problem for Volodymyr Zelensky. Those Taurus missiles, he wants them. They are German and Swedish built. They have a 500-kilometer range, but the Germans are a bit reluctant to hand them over because they fear that if they do, that's going to increase their antagonistic relationship with the Russians. And they're not quite so sure that they want to do that. One final point, which is important to underline here, is that what the Coalition of the Willing will do is to try to stem the flow of illegal Russian oil on these ships, to get around Russian sanctions and to try to stamp out that even more than they're doing at the moment, and also to cut down on the amount of gas that is imported from Russia into the European Union. Currently, it's only at 7%, but they want to stop that completely. So I think there's going to be a movement towards that as well with this new package of EU sanctions. So those will be the key discussion factors today taking place during that Coalition of the Willing talks in London, which Volodymyr Zelensky will be taking part in.
Yeah, and perhaps just worth underlining that Ukraine did not get the Tomahawk missiles that it wanted from the US this week, but it did get sanctions on Russia from the US for the first time.
That's true, and I think that is certainly something that Volodymyr Zelensky maybe wasn't expecting. Is as you know, because we were listening yesterday to that press conference that he gave in Brussels, and he was asked whether he believed President Trump was going to stay the par and remain on the course and constantly support Ukraine now. And he said, basically, well, I don't know the answer to that question because Donald Trump always seems to be changing his mind all the time. So I think this is definitely, as far as the Ukrainians are concerned, a move in the right direction. We've had a reply from President Putin, which is something also quite rare, saying, of course, it's not going to have any effect on Russia's war effort and on the economy in Russia. I think many believe that it will have an effect, and Russia's going to have to try to get round that. Now, the only negative point here is that if those sanctions against oil companies, the two we were talking about beforehand, are effective, they may push the price of oil up, and that will then obviously increase the amount of money that Russia will be able to obtain if it keeps selling oil to the Indians or to the Chinese.
Interesting point. Thank you so much for your analysis there, Philip. We'll be speaking to you a bit later.